For 27 years, Scarlett Johansson kept one secret locked in her heart, a silly nickname she gave Robert Redford when she was just 12 years old. And she finally revealed it only after he passed away. Imagine being 12 years old, standing in front of one of Hollywood's biggest legends. Your hands are shaking. Your heart is racing. But instead of feeling scared, you feel safe. That's exactly what happened to Scarlett Johansson in 1997. She walked into an audition room and met Robert Redford, and in that moment, something special happened between them. Something so private that she never told anyone about it for almost 3 decades. The story you're about to hear isn't just about a famous actress and a legendary actor. It's about trust, kindness, and how one person can change your entire life with just a few gentle words. Stay with me because this story gets more emotional and powerful as it unfolds. Let's go back to where it all started. New York City, 1984. The city was loud, crowded, and expensive. And somewhere in a small Manhattan apartment, a baby girl named Scarlett Ingrid Johansson was born. Her family wasn't rich. Her mom, Melanie, loved theater and produced small Broadway shows. Her dad, Karsten, was an architect from Denmark who believed art was more important than money. They had 6 kids living in a tiny apartment where the living room was also a bedroom. But here's what they did have: old movie tapes, theater tickets, and a strong belief that dreams could come true if you worked hard enough. From the time Scarlett could talk, she loved performing. She would wrap towels around herself like fancy dresses, hold a toothbrush like a microphone, and sing to her stuffed animals. Her family knew this wasn't just a game. This little girl was different. She lived inside her imagination like it was a real world. When Scarlett turned 9, she started going to auditions. And let me tell you, auditions are brutal, especially for kids. Imagine walking into cold hallways filled with dozens of other children who all look perfect. Their parents are sitting there in sunglasses looking serious. The directors barely look at you. Scarlett wasn't the prettiest or the tallest. She was just normal. She did a few small jobs, a milk commercial here, a tiny role in a TV movie nobody watched. She heard no more times than she could count. But there was something about her that made people stop and look twice. Her eyes. Scarlett had eyes that seemed older than her age. Eyes that told stories without saying a word. Her mom always told her, "You don't have to be the loudest person in the room. Just be the one they can't look away from." Scarlett believed that. So she kept trying. She kept walking out of those audition rooms with her head held high, even when she felt like giving up. And then, one autumn morning in 1997, everything changed. October 1997. Scarlett was 12 years old. She walked into another audition, expecting it to be like all the others, cold, rushed, forgettable. But this time was different. The room wasn't crowded. There weren't rows of kids waiting nervously. At the far end of the room sat one man with silver hair. He didn't speak right away. He just watched her. His eyes were both serious and kind at the same time. That man was Robert Redford, and this audition was for a movie called The Horse Whisperer. The story was about a young girl named Grace who survives a terrible horse riding accident. Her body heals, but her heart doesn't. She's broken inside, carrying pain nobody can see. When Scarlett stood in front of the camera that day, something magical happened. She didn't just act like Grace, she became Grace. Every expression on her face, every breath she took felt completely real. The whole crew went silent. You know that kind of silence when everyone realizes they're watching something special? That's what happened. Redford saw it too. He didn't see a child actress trying to get a role. He saw a deep soul hiding inside a 12-year-old body. He saw something the world had missed. And just like that, Scarlett got the part. But getting the role was just the beginning. What happened next on that film set would shape her entire life. Filming The Horse Whisperer wasn't like other movie sets. Hollywood can be cold and mean, especially to young actors. One mistake can end your career before it even starts. But Robert Redford created something different. He made the set feel safe. When Scarlett struggled with a sad crying scene, Redford didn't yell, "Cut! Do it again!" like other directors might. Instead, he sat down next to her and told her a quiet story from his own childhood. He told her about the day his pet dog died and how he tried to hide his tears from the adults around him. When Scarlett went back to film the scene, she didn't perform anymore. She lived it. and it became one of the most real and touching moments in the entire movie. Redford taught her everything: how to stand in front of the camera, how to use silence to tell a story, how one look can say more than 100 words. But the most important thing he told her was this: don't try to act like an adult. Just be honest with what you feel. In that freedom, Scarlett didn't just finish her first big movie role. She grew up as a person. Throughout filming, Redford became more than a director or a co-star. He became like a father figure, someone she could turn to when she felt scared or unsure. In Hollywood, bright lights can burn young souls. But with Redford, Scarlett felt protected. "He didn't just teach me how to act," Scarlett said years later. "He taught me how to listen, how to trust myself." And it was during this time that the nickname was born, Bowie. Nobody remembers the exact moment she first called him that. Maybe it was after a tough scene. Maybe he told a joke that made her laugh so hard she couldn't breathe. But from that moment on, Bowie wasn't just a silly word. It became their secret code, a bridge between a teacher who saw potential and a girl who finally found someone who believed in her. Think about it. Bowie sounds like a teddy bear's name from a toy store. And that's exactly how Redford appeared in Scarlett's eyes, a gentle giant, a soft protector who always stood behind her, ready to shield her from the storms of fame. Years later, when Scarlett became one of Hollywood's biggest stars, she still carried that memory close to her heart. Not because the movie made her famous, but because it was where she met the first person who believed in her more than she believed in herself. The Horse Whisperer ended with applause from critics and audiences. But for Scarlett, it was more than just a successful movie. It was the first door that opened toward everything she had dreamed about since she was a little girl singing to stuffed animals. And once she walked through that door, she never looked back. A few years later, she appeared in Ghost World in 2001. It was a small role, but critics started paying attention to the deep emotions this teenage girl could show. Then came Lost in Translation in 2003. This quiet, beautiful film made Scarlett a global star. At just 19 years old, she was no longer a promising young actress. She was a superstar. From there, her career kept climbing higher and higher. Match Point, Vicky Cristina Barcelona, Lucy, Marriage Story, and of course, her role as Black Widow in the Marvel movies, which made her one of the most recognized faces on the planet. Scarlett became one of the highest-paid actresses in Hollywood. She topped Forbes' list year after year. She walked red carpets, won awards, and had millions of fans worldwide. But here's what's beautiful about Scarlett's story. Amid all the fame, flashing cameras, and golden statues, she never forgot where it all began. Everything started with Bowie. In dozens of interviews throughout her career, whenever someone asked who influenced her the most, she never hesitated. Robert Redford. He wasn't just the first director who believed in me. He was the one who taught me to believe in myself. Scarlett even revealed a personal ritual she does before every major project. She rewatches a few minutes of The Horse Whisperer, not to study her acting, but to remind herself that this career didn't begin with fame or million-dollar paychecks. It began with a man who bent down to her eye level and said, "You can do this." But to truly understand why Redford could see the light in a 12-year-old girl the world overlooked, we need to go back to his own beginning. Before he was Bowie, before he was the mentor, before he was a Hollywood legend, he was simply Bobby, a restless boy growing up in California. Robert Redford was born in August 1936 in Santa Monica. His family was completely ordinary. His father was an accountant. His mother stayed home. Nobody in the family had any connection to movies or art. Hollywood seemed as far away as the moon. But young Robert was not an easy kid. He hated sitting still in school. He hated boring numbers. He would sneak out of class just to explore the beach near his home. Teachers called him a troublemaker. His friends called him an adventurer. Redford called himself a dreamer, though even he didn't know yet what he was dreaming of. When he was 14, Redford once climbed over a fence to sneak into a baseball stadium so he could paint graffiti on the walls. When the police caught him, he didn't panic. He smiled and asked if he could repaint the wall properly instead. That was Redford, stubborn, bold, and always seeing the world in his own unique way. After high school, Redford did something that terrified his parents. He dropped out of college. Classrooms and routines weren't for him. He wanted to live, not through textbooks, but through streets, people, and real stories. With just a few dollars in his pocket and a suitcase full of paint supplies, Redford traveled to Europe. He drew portraits on the streets of Paris. He took odd jobs in Spain. He slept on friends' couches in Italy. Life as a 20-year-old wanderer wasn't easy. There were times he thought about giving up and going home. But those years of drifting taught him something no classroom ever could: how to observe the world. He learned that every person has a story. Every wrinkle carries a memory. Every glance is a line waiting to be written. When Redford finally returned to America, he brought back not just a sketchbook filled with European scenes, but a deep understanding of human emotion. And that understanding would fuel every performance he gave. The turning point came when Redford decided to try acting on stage. At first, they were small, nameless roles in New York plays. But gradually, the spotlight began to find him. One director said, "Redford doesn't act like an actor. He lives like a character." By the late 1960s, Robert Redford exploded onto movie screens. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid in 1969 wasn't just a hit, it was a cultural phenomenon. His role as the Sundance Kid turned him from that adventurous California boy into an A-list star overnight. Then came The Sting in 1973, which earned him an Oscar nomination. All the President's Men in 1976 became a landmark film. Out of Africa in 1985 cemented him at the top of Hollywood's golden age. Redford wasn't just a sought-after actor. He became the face of Hollywood itself. Strength, intelligence, grace, and constant forward motion. A critic once said, "If Hollywood were a school, Redford would be the troublemaker who somehow became an honorary professor." And that's exactly what happened. But here's what made Redford truly extraordinary. When most Hollywood stars reach the top, they relax and enjoy their success. But Redford saw his fame as a starting point, not a finish line. By the late 1970s, Hollywood was obsessed with blockbusters. The louder, flashier, and more expensive a film was, the better it did at the box office. But Redford noticed something dangerous happening. The quiet, personal, artistic stories, the ones that spoke to the human spirit, were disappearing. "Cinema isn't just entertainment," he said. "It's how we hold up a mirror and see ourselves." From that belief, Redford decided to build something new. In 1978, nestled in the snowy mountains of Utah, the Sundance Film Festival was born. At first, Sundance was tiny and almost invisible to the big studios. But Redford nurtured it patiently, year after year. He invited young filmmakers. He funded projects no studio would touch. He personally mentored people taking their first steps behind the camera. The result? Sundance became the home of independent cinema. Quentin Tarantino premiered Reservoir Dogs there. The Coen brothers showed Blood Simple there. Darren Aronofsky stunned audiences with Pi. Damien Chazelle found investors for Whiplash there. All of them started at the door Robert Redford opened. Sundance became a symbol of creative freedom, a place where art didn't bow to profit and ideas weren't strangled by mass appeal. Even as he built opportunities for others, Redford continued pushing his own boundaries. His directorial debut, Ordinary People, in 1980, was a quiet, emotionally raw portrait of family and grief. It earned him the Academy Award for Best Director. Many were surprised. Redford already had everything an actor could dream of. Why start over from zero? The answer was simple. He was never satisfied with enough. Beyond the film set, he became a voice for environmental protection and human rights. He funded projects to preserve natural ecosystems and used his fame to bring attention to causes governments often ignored. In September 2025, a quiet piece of news rippled across the world. Robert Redford had passed away in his sleep at the age of 89. Hollywood fell silent. The press called him the last legend of the golden generation. Filmmakers described him as the man who taught the world how to tell stories with light. Even the President of the United States issued a statement of mourning. But perhaps the most heartfelt farewell came from someone who had once barely reached his shoulder on that Montana film set: Scarlett Johansson. A few days after the news broke, Scarlett appeared on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. She wore a simple black dress, no heavy makeup. Her eyes were filled with sorrow, but also gratitude. When Colbert asked what Redford meant to her, Scarlett smiled softly and said, "I used to call him Bowie." The audience laughed. Colbert laughed. Scarlett laughed too. But then her voice got quieter. "I don't know why I called him that. I guess I was 12 and it was just some silly name I came up with, but I never told anyone. Never. It was something that belonged only to the two of us." At Robert Redford's farewell, there were no fireworks or long speeches. Drop a comment and tell me, which Scarlett Johansson or Robert Redford movie is your favorite? And hit subscribe if this story touched your heart.